Tuesday. What a wonderful day. We are still doing base 10 numbers. Sorry about that. I paused because if you notice, the screen went black for a minute. But this time we're going to compare decimals. We're going to compare 2 or 3 decimals using our greater than, less than, and equal sign. So to review before you start, I'm going to go down here and do our little review on our sheet. Okay, when we compare decimals, you compare the numbers. So let's say I have 2 and 1 1300ths, and the number I want to compare it to is 3 and 2/10. Well, it's not necessarily by how many numbers we have. We take each number and we look at them. So 2, we start with the ones place value, and 3, well, I know 3 is greater than 2, so I could write it in 2 ways. 2 and 1300ths is less than 3 and 2/10, or I can write it 3 and 2/10 is greater than 2 and 1300ths. So we go through each number and compare. But wait, Mrs. Jones, what happens if the numbers are the same? I ran out of space, so I'm going to move it right here. So let's have 3 and 5700ths compared to 3 and 5800ths. Well, we're going to do the exact same thing we did here. We're going to look at the ones place. 3, 3. Those are the same. Then we have our and sign. 5/10, 5/10 is the same. And we just keep going down till we find the 2 numbers that are different and not the same. And we compare 7 to 8. Well, 8 is larger, so 3 and 58ths, or 3 and 5800ths is larger than 3 and 5700ths. So again, you could write it 2 ways. 3 and 5700ths is less than 3 and 5800ths, or 3 and 5800ths is greater than 3 and 5700ths. Now, if they're in order, I would probably choose this one to write it as, only because that number came first. The only last thing we need to review is what happens if there's a 0 added. This one you might remember. If I have 3 and 5/10 and 3 and 50/100ths, remember that 0 is still like having nothing there. So now these 2 numbers, 3 and 3 is the same, 5 and 5 is the same, so they're equal. So remember, we have less than, greater than, or equal to. Go ahead and pause at this time. Go ahead and do your 12 problems, and then come back to the video and correct. Well, you should be unpausing your video. You should have your work completed, so all you're doing is correcting and fixing any mistakes that you have. Hopefully this one was pretty easy like yesterday's math. So let's go ahead and look at number 1. The masses of 4 kittens in a litter are shown in the table below. So Jeeba is 1 and 7500ths, Ernie is 1 and 5/10, Abby's 1 and 8/10, and Marley is 1 and 87500ths. Which number sentence correctly compares the weights of two of the kittens? Well, so let's look. We have 1 and 5/10, which is Ernie, is greater than 1 and 7500ths. Well, remember, if we look at each number, 1 and 1's the same, 5 and 7. Well, 5 is not greater than 7, so it's not that one. Number, or B, not a number. 1 and 8/10 is less than 1 and 875. Well, it stops at 8, but 7 is bigger than 0, so that is less. So that could be a possibility. Keep going just in case they're tricking us. So I have 1, 1, 7, 8. Well, 7 is less than 8, so it can't be greater. And 5 is less than 8, so B is my answer, so it cannot. You're just comparing the numbers. Which number sentence correctly compares 731 hundredths and 73. Oh, sorry. I caught myself. 731 thousandths and 73 hundredths. So A, 73 hundredths is greater than 731 thousandths. Well, we know that's not true. Cross that off. We know it's not equal. 731 thousandths is less than 73. Well, we know that's not it. So let's double check if D's it. 731 hundredths is greater than 73. Well, I have 7, 7, 3, 3, and here's a 1, and 1 is greater than our 0. So D is your answer. Number 3, write a number sentence to compare. Well, I first have to compare. So 7, 7, 1, 1, 7, 7, 0, and nothing there acts as 0. So it's going to be equal to. Hopefully you got that one right. Number 4. June ran 100 meters in 15 and 2/10 seconds. Carla ran the same distance in 15 and 800 seconds. Which number sentence correctly compares these decimals? Well, instead of me going through A, B, C, D, I'm just going to check it out myself. So 15 and 2/10 and 15 and 800ths. Remember, we go one number at a time. Well, 1 in the tenths, 1 in the tenths. 5 in the ones, 5's in the ones. 2 is in the tenths, 0 is in the tenths. Well, 2 is greater than 0. So it should look like that. But remember, I can flip it because I can say 15 and 800ths is less than 15 and 2/10. So let's look at this. I know 15 has to be the greater, so 15 and 2/10 is less. They're not equal. 1508 is less than 1502. Well, I have that when I wrote the sentence differently. Or 1508 is greater. So C is the correct answer. They were actually trying to trick you that when you put the one number first, they were just going in reverse. Number 5, which number sentence is true? Well, 8, 8, 6, 0, not equal, so that's not it. 8, 8, 6, 6, 0, 5, well, that's not equal. 8, 8, 6, 6, 5, 5, nothing, 0. I'm going to circle C for now. 8, 8, 0, 0, well, those aren't equal either, so C is your answer. Number 6. In the deli where Tran works, a customer ordered 2/500 pound of cheese. When Tran put the cheese slices on the scale, they weighed 247 thousandths pound. Write an inequality to compare the actual weight of the cheese to the weight the customer ordered. Inequality means I already know it's not going to be equal. So take out that equal sign. It's either going to be less than or greater than. So one customer ordered 2/500ths and the other customer ordered 247 hundredths. So I'm going to look at both my numbers. 2, 2, 5, 4. Well, I know that is greater. Or you can write it the other way around. 247 hundredths is less than 25 hundredths. Moving on to page 38. Number 7. Which inequality is true? Remember, inequality means there's no equal sign, and I noticed none of my answers have an equal sign. So I have to just compare numbers again. 1, 1, 0, 1. Well, 0 is not greater than 1. B is 1, 1, 0, 0. 5 and 9. 5 is less than 1, so that could be a possibility. Circle it for now. 1, 1, 5, 0. Well, 5 is not less than 0. 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 4, and 0 is not greater than 4, so B is your answer. Number 8, Michelle has 5/10 pound of red peppers and 50 hundredths pound of green peppers. Which number sentence correctly compares the amounts of red and green peppers that Michelle has? Well, remember, I have 0.5 and 0.50, but that 0 does not mean anything, so I know it's equal. So I'm going to look, none of these have equal except for this one. I match it. A is your correct answer. Number 9. A truck stopped at a weigh station along the highway. The sign read maximum weight, 40 and 3/10 tons. The truck weighed in at 40 and 9/100 tons. Compare the maximum weight allowed and the truck's actual weight. So we got to do a comparison sentence. So 2 questions. Is the truck's weight greater than the maximum weight? Explain your answer. Well, let's look. 40 and 3/10 tons is my max. The truck came in at 40 and 9/100. So I first need to compare. So I have 40 and 40. I have 3 in the tenths, 0 in the tenths over here. So 40 and 3 is greater than. So the max is still more than what that truck weighed. So is the truck's weight greater than the maximum weight? Well, no. And it wants to know why. Explain. Well, because 40 and 9/100 is less than the maximum weight. So I can just say it is less than the maximum weight. Oop, I ran out of lines, so I'm just going to go down below. Almost done. 3 more problems. Yay! Number 10. At the zoo, 1/10 of the animals are birds and 4/100 of the animals are reptiles. Which number sentence correctly compares these two? Well, I can definitely tell they're not equal. So if I compare, I have 4/100, 1/10. Well, there's a 0 and a 1. Well, that's not greater. I have 1/10 is greater than 0/10, and 1/10 is greater than, number C was less than. D is greater than 0, so your answer is D. I think I've recorded too many of these in one day. Time for cupcakes, vanilla cupcakes, and strawberry frosting when I get home. I have to make them first. Number 11, which number sentence is true? We're just comparing again. So 3, 3, in the tenths place, 3, 3. I have a 3 in the hundredths. Is that 3 in the hundredths less than 0 in the hundredths? No. Okay, so 3, 3, 3 in the tenths, 3 in the hundredths again, which is greater than 0 in the hundredths. So far, B's looking good. I'm going to circle it just in case. 3 in the ones, 3 in the ones, that's equal. 3 in the tenths, 3 in the tenths, that's equal. 3 in the hundredths is not greater than 3 in the hundredths. 3 in the ones is equal to 3 in the ones. 3 in the tens is equal, but my hundredths are not equal, so B is my answer. Your very, very last one for today, excuse me. Chloe listed the types of trees she saw on her class hike. She noted that 36/100 of the trees she saw were oak trees and 3/10 of the trees she saw were maple trees. Write an inequality to compare the amount of maple trees to the amount of oak trees Chloe saw. Well, we know, again, inequality means there won't be an equal sign. So I'm just going to take that first number, 0.36. I can add the 0, I don't have to. And 0.3, I'm going to compare. 3 in my tenths, 3 in my tenths is equal, but there's 6 in my hundredths and 0 in my hundredths. So 0.36 is greater, or you can write it 3/10 is less than 36. I forgot that or in there. And you've completed your review for Tuesday.